Hi YouTube, this is Robert with Soy. Welcome to the Getting Wiser tutorial series. Episode 2, Crossing the Streams. Last week we looked at how we can integrate Wwise and UE4. This week's tutorial will show you how to create a new project in both programs, as well as update your version of Wwise. So let's get started. We'll start with updating the Wwise version. Let's say when you downloaded the integration, the directory was set up for 5179. Currently, as of this demo, the latest version is 5195. So how would you know which version it's set up for, much less how to update it? In this case, I will show you how to go from 5179 to 5195. So let's start with the place where we created our engine. Open up that folder. Then open up the engine folder. In the engine folder, there's something called the config folder. Once we open that folder, in there you will see a long list of different files. There are different editors and setting files. Let's open up the base editor file. When you open up the base editor file, it'll open up a text file that we can edit. Now we are looking at the code lines that UE4 calls upon. Don't worry though, you don't need to know code to do this. So let's scroll all the way down near the bottom. There you will see a line called Wwise Options, and below that, another command line. So all you have to do now is change this URL to the current version of Wwise. Keep in mind, everything that you type in has to be exact, including the spacing. Front slashes are very important. To make sure that you get the right build, just look at your version of Wwise. There, it'll say everything that you need to know. As you can see in the recording, I'm just double checking my desktop icon to make sure that I have everything correctly written down. Just in case you're unsure of what to type in the description below, I have the URLs for 5158, 5179, and 5195. So after just changing around a few numbers, you can see that it's pretty easy to update our version of Wwise. Remember to save after you've done this. Now all you have to do is open up the UE4 Wwise project and click Generate Sound Banks. And if you don't get an error, that means you've done everything right. Just to be sure, play an Audiokinetic event from the UE4 Content Browser. And in this next part of the tutorial, I'll show you exactly how I put this sound into UE4. This next part is going to be focused more on creating a new project in both programs and connecting them. Not about creating events in Wwise and transferring them to UE4, but I need to explain this. I'll not explain everything about Wwise or UE4, just the simple things you need to know for completing this tutorial. In the upcoming weeks though, I will create more tutorials explaining in detail Wwise and UE4. So let's open our UE4 Wwise Demo and our Wwise Demo for Wwise. You can find this in the Unreal Wwise Demo folder, which is in the Unreal Wwise Demo game folder. I know it's a little bit confusing. It is right above the UE4 game project. In that folder will be the actual Wwise project executable, which that file is called Unreal Demo. Now let's open up the UE4 file. So now, let's create a new folder in the UE4 file where we can place our new audio event. Now it's time to find your audio file. Make sure that whatever audio file that you use is in WAV format. That is very important. In this tutorial, my WAV file was on my desktop. I'd suggest making a folder for wherever you're going to keep your sound files. Alright, let's go back to Wwise. Now freeze frame. So let's look at the Wwise interface. I'll explain in future episode what each part is in more detail, but for now, I'll just go over the basics. Alright then, highlighted in red is the Project Explorer. It has names such as Master Mixer Hierarchy and Actor Mixer Hierarchy in it. This is where we will put most of our sounds. Below that, highlighted in blue, is the Event Viewer. When we create sound events, this is where they will go. Think of them as sound triggers in UE4. Highlighted in yellow is the Property Editor. As its name suggests, you can change the properties of the sounds here. Highlighted in green are the Content Editor and Transport Control. The Transport Control is a way to preview your sounds and change certain effects based on which properties you set up in UE4. And on the right-hand side is a normal meter gauge that you can find in most audio programs. First, let's take our audio file and drag and drop it into the Actor Mixer Hierarchy. Right-click on that file and click New Event, play. If you notice in the event viewer, there is now a new play event. We can now drag and drop that play event into the UE4 Content Browser, which is located usually on the left-hand side of UE4. Now, once it's inside the Content Browser, right-click inside the Content Browser. In there, you'll find an Audio Kinetic option. Click Audio Kinetic, and then go to Audio Kinetic Bank. Let's name this bank Demo. Now let's double-click the new event that we just brought into the Content Browser, and set its bank to the bank that we just created. Now be sure to save your Wwise project and your UE4 project. Now, look at the top shelf in UE4. There's a button called Build. Click the arrow next to the Build button, and scroll down and find the Generate Sound Banks option. After you click that, save the UE4 project once more. Now let's go back to the Content Browser and find our Audio Kinetic event. Right-click that event, and then click Play Event. Awesome, so now it plays! Now we have a basic idea of how to get a sound from one program to the other. So now let's make a new project in UE4. We can do this with pretty much whatever template except for the blank template. And the reason for that is the blank template does not create a project file that the others do, which is necessary for us to connect the two programs. In this demo, I will use the first-person shooter template. When you make this new project, be sure you keep in mind where you save it. We will need to follow that directory. Now I'm in the new project. I'm going to try and take the same sound event that we created earlier from our Wwiser demo and play it in this project. Notice UE4 still accepts the event. Now I'll do the exact same thing as before, and I'll create a new test bank. I'll put this new AK event to the new bank, and now I'll try and generate sound banks once more. Notice this time when I click Generate Sound Banks, it gives us an error. This means that the two projects are not properly connected. You would think that since it accepted the event, that the projects would be connected, but they aren't. Also, if you look through both programs and their file dropdowns, there is no way to connect them through there. To connect them, we once again have to look at the code, like we did when we updated Wwise. Remember how I said you have to keep in mind where you saved your new project? We now have to find a file in there. Usually, the default saving place for UE4 projects is C, User, Documents, Unreal Projects, and then the project name. In there, we have to open up the config folder. Once you have found the config folder, open up the Wwiser UE4 Demo config folder as well. In both folders, there will be a file called default game. Open them both. If you notice, in the UE4 demo for Wwise, there is a line called wwise.options, and below that, a URL demo to the project for Wwise. So now all you have to do is copy and paste these two lines into our game's default game file. As you can see in the video, the new project does not have the wwise.options line, and I am just copying and pasting it in from the Wwise demo. Remember to save afterwards. Now when you open up your new project, everything should work. In the demo, I'm just generating sound banks once more. So we just connected our new UE4 project to our old Wwise demo project. Now let's create a new Wwise project to go along with this new UE4 project. When creating a new Wwise project, it'll give you a bunch of optional sounds and effects if you want them. I personally do not because I think it adds a lot of clutter to the interface. Also, be sure to remember where you save this file. In mine, I'm just putting it into the D drive. When the new project is created, it'll ask you to put your Wwise license key in, which there are several. The one I am using is free since it is under the Indie Developer license. In the video, I am now grabbing my license from the Audio Kinetic website. You can find the license under the Customer portal. Scroll down and there will be an option to generate the license. Just highlight that and click Copy. And if you accidentally closed your license manager like I did in the video, you can get to it under File, License Manager. Once that opens, just click Paste from Clipboard. This video is sped up because I'm doing the exact same thing as earlier. I'm just dragging the audio file into the actor mixer hierarchy and creating a new event for it. Now, let's add this project to our new UE4 project. Once again, open up your new UE4 project's default game file, which is located in the config folder. Delete the URL that is in the parentheses. Now, I'll show you a cool trick to make sure that most of the URL is correct. Find the location of your new Wwise project. Wwise will create an entire folder named the project name, and not just an executable file. Open the folder and find the executable near the bottom. Right-click the file and then click Properties. Near the top will be the URL that you will need. Copy and paste what you find in the location line into the parentheses in our default game file. Once in there, change all of the backslashes into forward slashes. And at the end, add / the name of your project .wproj, then save the file. Now let's hop back into our new project and generate sound banks one more time. Thank you for watching! Next time I'll go over the interface of Wwise and some of the functions in UE4. By the end of that tutorial, you will be able to press a button and make a sound. Also, as always, there's a text version of this tutorial in the description below. Any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, and see you guys next time!